Hey everyone, I just wanted to stop by real quick before this podcast starts and say you should like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow me on all my social medias at John D. Klauser. It's literally the same name as the name that you subscribe to on this YouTube channel. So enjoy this clip, and I'll see you guys on the other side.
Welcome to The John Show with your host, John Doogie Klauser.
All right, guys. Hey, how are you doing? What's up? So we are here on a new episode of The John Show with your awesome and very cute, adorable, I should have gone with adorable, host, John D. Klauser. That is me. If you are new, welcome. How are you? Hope you're doing well. If you are a returning guest, thank you so much for coming back for another week of shenanigans of what I call my life and me sitting in front of a camera talking to a microphone on the third floor of a mansion in Kansas City, Missouri. You know, just what you do, what you got to do. So we're here. It's what day like 2,302 of Corona or something, or COVID. You know that thing, the thing that we don't know if it's getting better, if it's not getting better. Like, there's rumors going around saying in Missouri that there's going to be another lockdown. So it's going to be great. Things will be closing again. So we have that to look forward to, possibly. We're just here sitting, waiting for things to happen. This is what's going to happen. So, like I said, hope you're doing well. Just staying healthy, wearing masks, doing what you got to do. So I was just, before I was doing this podcast, I'm doing this at like 12:30 at night on November 15th. So it's like it's a Sunday, and I just dropped the little clapper. It just fell on the ground hard. So, but before I started doing this podcast, I went out to my car because I forgot a pair of shoes and one of my backpacks. And when I was walking out to my car, this guy was smoking the cigarette, and he's like, "Hey, are you getting rid of that lawnmower?" So apparently there's this the house I live in front of, there's this lawnmower that's sitting there. I don't know if it's ours. I don't know if it's the neighbors that was maybe working on mowing our yard. But either way, I don't know why it's sitting there, but it's sitting in the place where the trash sits when we get rid of the trash every week. So I don't know. It's honestly a 50-50 toss-up if it's going to be a disposable lawnmower or if it's still a very functioning, going to be used tomorrow lawnmower. Who knows? Either way, if it was going to be used tomorrow, it's kind of weird that it's outside, or if it was used, I don't understand why it's still sitting outside. If it's being thrown away, it's sitting exactly where it would be sitting if it's going to be thrown away. So these are the questions and the answers that I don't have any of. I don't have any answers for this. But this guy was smoking a cigarette, had a beanie on, was wearing this Old Navy white hoodie with navy blue lettering across it, said Old Navy. And he was like, "Are you getting rid of that lawnmower?" And I'm like, "What?" And then you hear this honk because there's this minivan, and I'm thinking oh shit, okay, this guy is either trying to talk to me and stop me because I'm gonna get jumped, or two, there's this guy is going around because now I'm thinking maybe this is somebody who's connected to who stole my alternator, or was it the alternator or the catalytic converter to my car. So I'm thinking maybe it's something like that. I'm I don't know what's going on, because it's, it was maybe 12 at that time, 12 o'clock at night. So I don't know what this guy could be doing, but he asked me again. He's like, yeah, I saw that there's that lawnmower sitting out there. And I was just curious, why it's out there. And I'm I honestly, I have no no idea, sir. I have no clue. And he's like, yeah, well, do you live at that house? I'm like, why do you want to know? He's like, well, I just want to know about that lawnmower. I'm like, I don't know. If I had answers about the lawnmower, I would be able to give it to you. Then you hear another honk on the from the minivan, and I'm thinking like, okay, maybe this guy's like, oh, dude, we got caught. We need to get the fuck out of here. Quit trying to act like you know this guy. Maybe because I don't know what's going on. I don't know why this guy's here just smoking a cigarette. Like maybe they just stopped their car to let him smoke a cigarette because they didn't want to have him smoke in the minivan. There was so many questions, and I'm like watching this minivan because I'm not for sure where the sound is coming from because there's no lights on any car. There's none of the cars that are out there parked. They're all parked. None of them are turned on. You can't hear the engine going. And so I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And so he's like, well, all right, well, I guess I'll just wait until I take it. I'm like, okay. And that's exactly what he said. So I don't know if he's going to just wait there for tomorrow. But then I'm like, all right, well, he's like, have a good night. And so we both started walking, and he's walking, and I'm like, okay, we're going to see which car this is going to. So there was the minivan. And so he walked up to the minivan, and I see there's this little kid, couldn't be more than 5 years old, inside the car. And like, he's the one that's been honking the horn. So that was quite interesting at, 12 o'clock at night. To be seeing a little 5-year-old boy still up, honking a horn of a minivan inside a car that's not turned on or anything, luckily. So now I recognize the minivan because the minivan is a car, from somebody who lives around in this little area. So, and I've only seen the mother, and the mother I believe is a nurse, and I'm assuming that just because she's wore scrubs and she drove the exact same minivan, parked it, and when I was out in my car, when I was about to leave to go someplace. So I'm assuming that this might be the father of the kid because I saw the lady with the little kid walking into a house, and so I know it's in the area of where I live as well. But yeah, it was very interesting. Kind of something you don't really want to experience at 12 o'clock at night, having a man ask you why you want to have a lawnmower, but for a podcast, it makes for really good content. So it's a little column A, a little column B, kind of a twofer. Scare the shit out of me because I thought I might be getting jumped. But hey, 30 minutes later, I'm talking about it on a podcast. So that's what we do here. Again, this is my life. This is like I wish I was making up, but I can't. That's something that just happened, and I'm like, then getting to my car, and I'm like, I was thinking because when I was walking, I was just in my own head because my dad had called me. So earlier, last week I kind of loosely shared about how my biological mother, she has passed away, and so my bio father, he called me a couple days ago, and he was like, hey John, I didn't recognize the number because I don't really talk to the guy that much, and so I saw this number that called me, and I just let it go to voicemail because I'm like, okay, whatever it is, and then they left a voicemail, and the guy was saying, the guy is my dad, my bio father. I can just call him my bio father, or like mostly when I talk to him, I call him dude or bro, or like call him sir every once in a while. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm not going to call you my dad. I'm not going to call you dad because that'd be weird. I think that's weird for both of us to have me once say it, then you hear it, and then me have to watch you sit here and make, and we both have to sit here in this awkward moment. So I'm not going to do that to either one of us. So he called me, and he was like, hey, John. And then I called him back, and I was like, I answered and said, hey, John, I'm just calling you because I wanted to, let you know, like, hey, I'm thinking about you for the fact that, your mother just passed away. I'm like, thank you so much. I'm like, it's really weird. So you're quite all right. It's not that big of a deal to me. Like, it's not that it's not a big deal. It's just that it's like weird. It's a weird situation. So, but what made it interesting was that when I was talking to my dad, he was like, John, there's one thing you can take away from death. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, if it's hot in the kitchen, the oven's probably on. I was like, what? He's like, if it's hot in the kitchen, the oven's probably on. And I'm like, this man, let me tell you, I don't know. He's a very interesting character. I guess like the best way to describe my father would be that he doesn't live in Las Vegas like I thought he did. He was living there. Now he doesn't live there anymore. He lives in New Mexico now. He still lives with his stripper girlfriend, and his stripper girlfriend's daughter is still a stripper, but in Las Vegas now. Or I guess I don't know if strip clubs are they even open still? But I was like, Dad, I'm like, that makes no sense to anything that what I'm going through. Like, why would you say that? And he's like, it's just, I don't know. I heard this guy say it to me a couple days ago, and I just kind of rang with me, so I thought that'd be a good time to say it. I'm like, it's not, one, but two, like, I think I've gotten a lot dumber from you saying that to me, Father. Like, it's like, good God, dude. Like, out of all the things you could say, you could have just been like, hey, dude, hey, Dad, hey, John, like, I'm so sorry about, your mother's death. I just wanted to call you and just let you know, like, hey, I'm thinking about you. You could have just left it at that. But instead you say, if it's hot in the kitchen, the oven's probably on. Which makes no sense, one, and it has nothing to do with the fact of someone dealing with the death in a family. It's like, what? Like, and now this is what's so interesting to me is like to see that now I don't get like so upset with him. Like if I was like in my younger years, if something like that would have happened, I've gotten super angry and I would have just like gone off the wall and just like screamed at him. But now I'm like, you know what? He at one time was a kid who had parents and who was, just innocent and have anything. And then like life things happen, and that's what made him him. And that's now why he's in New Mexico with a stripper girlfriend. And so, and it's like, I wish it wasn't a stripper girlfriend. I wish it wasn't such a cliche thing. Like, I wish it was, maybe he married an architect and he had like a whole family and, they live in Wisconsin and they eat a bunch of cheese at some festival every year. But instead I have this like dirty dad who has this curly hair and these knuckles that are hairy like a fucking Guido. So it's like, it's just interesting way of thinking, or interesting way of just being, of where I'm like, it's like, dear God, dude, like when you say things like that scares me, because I'm like, I'm half that. I'm half a guy who says that to condone someone, like to comfort someone in a situation where it just doesn't work. I don't understand. It makes no sense why you would ever think that would be an appropriate thing to say. And the thing is, like, I'm not angry. It's hilarious because it's just absurd, and it makes for a great like setup into a joke. But like, again, like this is something that you'd want to experience like in a movie, but never want to ever be like the frontal, like the frontal person to experience the moment. So the frontal person, you could have just said the target person who's doing it. Anyway, John, like English, you can tell. Can't you tell sometimes English is not my first language? How I just fuck up things and I add random words to the situation of the sentence. I guess a situation would work for that. But isn't it great? Isn't it awesome? Just thank the good Lord above that you don't have, a father who lives in New Mexico with a stripper. Oh God, it's funny. I imagine what their life is like. I like to think that they have a house that they don't own, but they rent. And because I don't really ask them much, we don't really have that much conversation. Because like after the end of that, I'm like, thanks, man. And I just got off the phone with him, like, hey, I'm about to do some film stuff, so I gotta go. And he's like, all right, well, bye. And then we just like get off the phone really quick. But what's funny is like I like to think that he lives in a house that he doesn't own, but he rents. And there's like pink, like those plastic like flamingos in the front yard. I like I don't know why. For me, I feel like that would be a perfect setting for that man. But hey, he is my father. He is my blood. So to what they say, to each calzone, right? To each calzone. So what else do we have to talk about? So have you guys? There's this new thing that I discovered. You guys want to hear this thing? So there's this thing called Jelqing. Yeah, it's spelled Jelqing. Doesn't even spelling it out loud, doesn't it sound gross? But Jelqing. So let me give you guys the definition because I looked it up and I have it prior to sitting up here. See, this is what you do when you're trying to do a professional show that deals with the deep, dark subject matters of life and like understanding, with 24-hour around the clock coverage of, Biden become president, like that kind of stuff. When you're trying to do that, this is why you have it up. You have a page on I have maybe 40, I'm not joking, maybe like 40 tabs open. It's fucking disgusting, guys. It's awful. Like I wish I wasn't kidding. I have so much stuff up because I'm always like, oh, this is something interesting, but I don't want to like close it out because if I close it out, I might lose it. And if I lose it, then like I will never be able to have it and I won't be able to talk about it maybe or something. I'll be able to read it later again. It's an awful thing. But anyway, so Jelqing. Jelqing is a penis stretching exercise. It involves massaging your penis tissue, stretching the skin to create micro tears that look engorged when they heal. So there's this. Now, after I learned this after having that conversation with my father. So learning that there's people that do this and like, okay, I could come from worse genes because I'm pretty sure my father's not doing this. This sounds awful. Like, why would you ever do little stretches? And it's like, is Jelqing exercises effective? There aren't enough medical studies to suggest that Jelqing can actually increase your penis size. It's a fairly safe practice, and it may lead to pain, irritation, and scar tissue formation if you do it too often or aggressively. This sounds gross. Does Jelqing cause what is it? Let's look like I don't even have it set up to my computer, so it's gonna like not make it sound. Peyronie's disease. Stretching the penis is see, this is gross. Like, why would you ever like, dude, gotta see, like, the time that it takes you to be jelqing every day, you could have easily fixed and solved COVID. Easily if you just put your dick down, picked up a pen and a calculator, one of the big ones that you can like write words with, and you just sat there in a room and you just wrote stuff. I don't know what you'd write, but you just write stuff down and you punt numbers in. I'm sure you could find the cure for COVID. Like, I'm sure instead of joking, even like I said, like, it's like Jelqing. Like, even just spelling it sounds gross. It's like there's Q, there's no U, and it goes ing, like QING. It's like, doesn't this go against the rules of like English? Isn't there always like, if there's a Q, then there's always a U after it? So, like, well, actually, let's look this up. What's the rules with, is there always Q followed by U? The letter Q is almost always followed by a U in English, but that isn't always the case. There are a handful of words that English borrowed from other language that flaunt the rule. Okay. There are a few words. And Jelqing is one. Jelqing is a word that defies, because it borrows it probably from something else. So I've shown you two things this week, guys. So don't act like it. Don't come to me and act like I don't sit here and give you guys facts about interesting information about like Jelqing. Like, would you ever have learned that anywhere else? No. Uh, every time that you use the letter Q, like in the U, is it followed by a U? Like these are things that we do here. But what else? I wrote down that I wrote down getting fired, and I don't know why I wrote it down. And then I remembered it when I was walking to my car and coming back, and then in the process of just tying, then I had to tie my shoe, and then from there I was like, I didn't write it down because I didn't write it down on my phone. So I'm like, it's gone, and I just don't like. Oh, okay. I think I know what it is. Like, so I don't know. Maybe like, okay. So once when I had moved to Kansas City because I got this job it was my second salary position I ever got. I was 24 at the time. I was living in Los Angeles, living the good life. I was working I had been an assistant all the way through college. I was assistant for the casting director for Independence Day. That's like the biggest thing that she did, or like I guess one of the biggest things that she did. So, but the one that everyone knows about, like Universal. So like she did the casting for How I Met Your Mother, but a lot of people don't know that show because it was a very white show on, I think, was it ABC or Fox? Maybe it was on Fox, but either way, no, it was one of the other ones. But either way, so like a lot of people know that one, but versus like Independence Day. Oh yeah, with Will Smith. Yeah, everyone knows that. So I was doing that all throughout college. I was a manny too. I was one of those. I was one of those guys. I did that for a short amount of time. That one didn't last. That lasted like 6 months, 7 months. And then after that, after I graduated, I'm like, well, I need to get some real jobs. I need to get a real job. And so I worked as a production coordinator. And then when I wasn't having a big production or a lot of big productions at one time, and I was back to back to back, I would also work as it was like an agent for TV actors. And so I'd go to like meetings, and these meetings were pretty big. And then after that was a salary position. And then after that job was up, I had an interview with TMZ, and then I had an interview with this job in Kansas City. And so I was like, if I get the job at TMZ, then I'll just stay in Los Angeles, and that will be that. And then I would have probably had to deal with COVID living in Los Angeles versus dealing with COVID in Missouri. So, those are those things. So I ended up getting the job in Kansas City, and it was a distribution coordinating position for a health food company. So basically like pre-made meals. And then my job was basically get everything, all the orders to each city that we distributed to, make sure it gets on trucks, and that's it. That was my job. So I had like 80 people underneath me. It was a pretty good job. And then I remember I fucking hated it because it wasn't film, but I liked it because it was like I had a gym membership that they paid for. I had health insurance. They paid, like, whenever I would go to these different cities to check out their receiving area, like their docking areas and stuff like that. Like, they would pay for it. And, for the most part, like, it was not that bad. It was a salary position. And, like, of course, like, the more you're in there, the more you start figuring out, like, oh, like, I'm not getting paid for as much as I should be if I would have just stayed hourly, because, I had those choices. But like, I remember when, like, at the very end of it, like, I started not giving that big of a fuck about the job. And when I met with the two owners, because we were sitting down to basically, it was going to end my, working with them, or my services, they were sitting there and they're talking to me like, hey John, like, like, we feel like, you're one of these guys that we can tell a deepest, darkest secret to, and you wouldn't tell anybody. We really do feel like that, but we just feel like we couldn't have a beer with you. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? I'm like, that's so damn stupid. I'm like, I'm not here to drink beers with you, dude. I'm here to fucking work for your company. But that's really fucking dumb. I'm like, you know what? Actually, I'm glad we're ending this thing. And I actually quit. I was 24 years old. Wasn't the most smartest thing to do in the world, but I just went on. I was like, fuck this. I'm definitely not gonna be able to use these people as a reference. But I was like, fuck that. That's like so stupid. I'm like, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to be a worker for you. I'm here to like make sure you get this food from A to B, not to be your friend that you can have a beer with. Like, why would you want to have a fucking beer with me? Like, that's so silly. Like, shouldn't you have your like own friends? And I have my own friends, and I come here and I work, and I just like, I'm like, I'm good, dude. Like, I'm good. Like, this is awful. And I just left, and then I was like, fuck this place. And then I had to end up going back 2 weeks later to get my last check because they were fucking assholes, and they just like, cut me out of the direct deposit thing. So I called and like, well, you're gonna have to come and get your check. And I'm like, that's great, you guys are doing that so I can be a fucking asshole and have to walk back into this building. So again, funny story to hear on a podcast. Not great to be the person who is being the one involved in such story. But again, I digress. But I'm just saying, this is the life of a man who lives and does a podcast on the third floor of a mansion in Kansas City, Missouri. Hey, it sits in front of a microphone. But hey, we're here, we're good. And we're like kind of getting in like the 3-minute warning pretty much on this podcast. So what do we have here? What can we talk about? What would you guys like to talk about? I don't know. Biofather, talk to lawnmower. I keep having like these scam people. I guess that can be the last little thing. I keep having these scam people trying to talk to me, and they're just like these, like they're people that are like, hey, like if you pay us $25, like we'll be able to promote your all your podcasts and your vlogs and all this stuff. I'm like, okay. And there's one today, and the one that what they'll do is they'll leave a message, or they either leave a comment and like a post that you do, and then they'll go into your messages and they'll leave you a DM. And so like on the comments, this guy's like, check your DMs or check your inbox, and I'm like, check your butthole. And then he would write back, check your inbox, and I'm like, check your butthole. And it went on like 5 times, like 5 messages to him, 5 messages to me, and like it's pretty juvenile, but to me, I got a big kick out of it. I got a super big kick out of it. It was absolutely hilarious. It was dumb. It killed about 20 minutes of my life, or it killed 20 minutes of time at work. But so we're like closing into the very end of this podcast because, hey, I basically talked about all I wanted to talk about, guys. And if you've gotten this far, I want to say thank you so much for watching. I very much appreciate it. Please give this video, you can leave it a comment, but if you could just leave it a thumbs up, that'd be the best thing in the world. And then tell a friend, they'll tell 3 friends, and then they will tell 3 friends, and then they will tell 3 friends. And then that's how we're going to be able to do this and like set this podcast up for success, guys. But yeah, you can follow me on all my social medias at John D. Klauser. It's literally the same name. That's the name. If you can't tell, my throat is starting to go. It's great because I was screaming, I was yelling, mostly about like, hey guys, if it's hot in the kitchen, the oven is probably fucking on, and you got to turn it off, or it's going to just stay hot in here, and you might burn your house down. I don't know, or you might just have a really awkward conversation with your father. Either way, that's what it is. It's just like that is. And then jelqing, don't jelq because it's really not helpful. Just live with what you got, man. Live with the penis you have. But I will talk to you guys later. You guys can also check out my other show, the Aaron and John Show, that comes out every Thursday. And you can check out Cool Baby. That show will be coming out tomorrow. I'm gonna upload a video. We do videos, but we never really have uploaded them till now. I guess tomorrow. So after I get done with this, I get to start editing another podcast and upload it. But guys, I will talk to you guys later. My voice is about to go because I've been yelling and screaming. So I will see you guys later. Bye.